Hey, good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Myrtle Beach Living Live right here on your favorite social media network, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitter. We are here every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern Time, and we talk everything about Myrtle Beach, from entertainment to dining to local businesses, and of course, my favorite, real estate. And we thank you for joining us once again. And today we're glad to have with us Michael Washburn, who is the president of the EXIT of the Carolinas. I'll get it right in a minute. I've said it twice wrong already. But here's Michael. Let's get him on the screen. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Hey, Todd. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're watching, don't forget, you can just type in your questions if you have them for Michael or myself during the show, and we'll be glad to get those on air for you. Just type them in the comments below where you're watching, and we can just put those on the screen. Or you can call us live at 843-246-7474, and we'll get you on air. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family, and how long you've been in real estate.
Well, I tell you, it's funny. I've been saying I've been in business 30 years, and I did the math today. It's 31 years. Came in 1989, and it started out in the commercial business down in the Charleston, South Carolina. And we actually marked time for a long time by Hugo. And I got into business 2 weeks after Hugo tore Charleston to pieces. It was a category 4 hurricane like we just saw come in last week. And man, Charleston looked like it had been hit by a bomb. I mean, like an atom bomb. It was so torn up. The roofs were torn off and everything. And I literally, my first day of work, I was walking through commercial buildings like I'm in right now, up in the Asheville exit office. And the carpet was floating on the floors because so much rain was still coming in through the roofs, because there was no roofs. You know, the roofs had been torn off. It was crazy. And, so that's when I started out. So I still have a vivid memory of that. And but it's been fun. It really has been a blast. I love it, and I've been very fortunate to be where we are, and just meet and find people I've met throughout the years, and helped out and worked in the Carolinas. But one thing I love about the Carolinas, I'm actually in Asheville, North Carolina right now, and in 4 hours I could be at the beach, right? So we really, in the Carolinas, we've got the best of both worlds, in my opinion. We got some beautiful beaches in North and South Carolina, then we got the mountains up here, and so it's an ideal territory.
And I agree with you. And it's funny that you bring up Hurricane Hugo. I moved to Myrtle Beach the week before Hugo hit. So I've been here for 31 years as well. So it's kind of funny. So, but anyway, tell us a little bit about EXIT Realty and why you chose to come to this company.
I'll tell you, I started out with a small company, as a lot of people do, independent company. And my training consisted of, Todd, here's your desk. Here's the telephone. Here's the telephone book. This is how you answer the phone. This is how you put somebody on hold. And then there was a file drawer that had all the contracts in the top drawer. And then way back then, we had a key room that had the keys to everything. Here's the key room, and that's it. Boom. See you. Have a good life. And it was sink or swim for sure. I had a strong sales background because I'd been trained with Lanier, so I knew how to sell. But that was just learning how to sell real estate, et cetera, which is commercial. But that is one thing. And when I evolved from there, I became the broker in charge of that company because I was the youngest one, not because I was the smartest one, because there were people 20, 30 years older. And when our broker quit, they said, you go to school and get your broker's license, you're going to be the broker. So I became the broker. And then I saw an ad for another franchise, a competitor of ours. And that brand did not exist in Charleston. So I just called the 1-800 number, and they said, wow, and miraculously, a week later, somebody appeared and gave me the pitch on that franchise, and I bought the franchise. And that was a 100% company. And where the agent pays desk fees, they pay this, they pay that, they pay this, but then they get 100% of their commission. Well, there's always a cost of doing business. So I ran that for 5 years, and we were doing very well. We were were in our size category of town. We were the number one franchise in the Southeast under that brand. And one of my agents came to me one day with a package and a cassette tape on EXIT Realty. And this was he's about my age now. I mean, to me, he was older because I was 29 years old. And this guy was probably in his mid 50s back then, John Martin. And John said, check this out. And John had owned his own Century 21. He had been with Remax for 10 years prior to joining me. And he was with my company. So I really respected his opinion. And by the fact, he sold 60 houses a year, period. I mean, he was a machine, listing machine. And so I looked at it, and John, and I said, so he came back, he said, so what do you think? I said, this is really interesting. And this is what really stuck. He said, if you don't do it for you, do it for me, because I think this is a better program. And he was excited about the residuals, and he had been in the Air Force and retired from the Air Force before going into real estate. And within a year or so, John had recruited enough agents into our system where he got the residuals. And I know you know what those are, where he was making more on residuals than he was with EXIT than he was with his Air Force retirement.
Wow.
So I thought that was cool. And here we go. I'm here 20 years later. But that's what attracted me to the model.
That's very interesting that you say that, because that does attract a lot of people to EXIT, and it's something that really no other company is doing. So even today, and that's pretty cool. And it's funny you talk about sitting at a desk and going through the phone book and doing phone calls. There's still some agents that are doing that today. That's all they do is go there and sit there at the desk and make phone calls. So that's kind of interesting. So let's talk a little bit about EXIT too in the Carolinas. How many locations are there? And then I know EXIT's based out of Canada. So right. What about throughout the U.S. and Canada? How many are there total? Do you know that?
Yeah, in the Carolinas, we just opened the 23rd office up over in South Charlotte, and we have got several more launching this year. I'll be in Wilmington next week, signing paperwork to put an office in Wilmington, so that'd be number 24. We're working on some paperwork to do one up in the Raleigh area, 25. We're working on the Highlands, 26. So we're rolling on down there. So we'll be at a good strong 30 by the year's end. And more importantly, is we're at about 400 agents and continuing to grow in the Carolinas. Nationwide, Todd, when I was redoing my circular, I counted like 627 offices, franchises that are out there. And so we've got a good footprint in the throughout the nation. Where we're predominantly located is up and down the East Coast, and there are a few states, just a few, like a handful, like a North Dakota or something like that we might not have an office in, but for the most part, we are in most all states in the United States. But where our business comes from, where I feel in the Carolinas, ours comes out of the Northeast and out of Florida for the most part. And right. It just, where was I? I was just somewhere this week, and they said they were getting a lot of people out of Texas. And I thought, well, that's strange. But so they are coming in as well from that area. Right. But
well, here in Myrtle Beach, I've actually had 2 to come from California this past month. So I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah, and I knew folks were leaving California. I mean, they have been. I've had conversations with friends and family as well that have friends and family out there, but they've usually been hitting, making it to Texas or maybe Colorado or something like that. But it's interesting. I saw something a couple of years back, and we've got it's a, as you know, major traffic coming in from all over, but predominantly it's been out of the Northeast. And we do have a good concentration of offices, in the Northeast, like in New Jersey and New York and moving on up. And, right. But yeah, so in Canada,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In Canada, our offices, there's only about 36 million people in the whole Canada, and right. And they're mainly within 50 miles of the U.S. border. So your bigger concentrations of population are like in your Toronto area, and then over on the far other side over in Vancouver, and there's some in Calgary. But gosh, there's areas in Canada where you've got way more bears in a province than you do people. This is not very densely populated.
Well, maybe I need to get together and talk about putting an office over in North Dakota, because that's becoming the new tech center of the United States. People are moving out of Silicon Valley and going over to North Dakota. So maybe we need to talk about putting one out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's shift gears just a little bit and tell us a little bit about why agents should look at EXIT Realty, where they should hang their license, and why EXIT is important and how they support their agents.
Yeah, I think like going back to my original experience coming into an office, and there's thousands of real estate companies out there. There's literally hundreds of them, I'm sure, and I know there are. There's hundreds of them in Myrtle Beach. There's hundreds of them here in Asheville, and the training that people get, I believe, is so important. And that's one thing. I mean, I used to, when people came in to interview with me previously with my other lifetime and another brokerage, I'd say, Todd, look, I don't have any training. I can't train you. I don't have time to train you. I would tell you to go work for XYZ company and get trained and come back here and we'll pay you more, once you learn how to do it. That was kind of my gig. And it's funny, I had one or two people say, no, I'm not going there. I'm going to come here. I'm coming here. And they toughed it out. They stayed there and they did okay because they just jumped in the car and rode with us, and they learned it. But that now with EXIT, that's one of the things I really feel good about. We have so much training for people that, they can get up to speed so much faster. And I think that is a huge asset, just the volume of training. And then the technology has come along to where it is really, really incredible. We did a Zoom meeting last week, and it was on the Facebook platform that's integrated with the resource center. And I've talked to several people, and one particular agent has accumulated somewhere close to 200 leads using that Facebook platform, enough leads where you can't really keep up with all of them. You know what I mean? And not for a lot of money, Todd, less than $1 a lead. And I said, so how does that stack up against some of your other platforms that you're generating leads on? He said, Mike, I've got one platform where I'm paying $12.50 per lead. So when you look at $12.50 versus 85 cents, that's a huge savings.
Sure.
On anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that is huge. So I think we're onto something really good for the agents there. Very cost-effective way to get leads, to do more transactions. And then again, going back to the residuals, the fact that you can replace yourself, and help us build the company, and you get a piece of the action. We've got one agent in our system in the Carolinas. I've got a video testimonial from him. And he, at the time he did that, which was a year ago, he had received $617,000 in residuals.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's that's a number, right? So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
that is awesome. So it's getting up. It's over $400 million now, and then, so after this year, we'll be creeping up closer to 500 million. So you're getting to be $500 million in residuals for the agents. Those are some very significant numbers,
Sure. And sure. Yeah. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. So I tell you what, guys, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back after the break, we'll talk about why you as a buyer or seller should look at EXIT to help you out. And remember, if you have any questions, type them in the comments and we'll get those on air. Or you can call us at 843-246-7474. We'll be right back. Every client is unique and has different needs. Whether it's a growing family, a first-time buyer, an investor, or someone looking to downsize, I am here to help guide them through the process. My name is Todd Cartner. I am a realtor with EXIT Real Estate Pros. I serve Myrtle Beach and the surrounding area, and there is no place I would rather have my family call home. You need a realtor you can trust and will put your needs first. I want to become your lifetime realtor. If you are looking to buy or sell real estate, please give me a call. I look forward to speaking with you soon. All right, folks, welcome back to Myrtle Beach Living Live. I'm Todd Cartner, your host, and today we have with us Michael Washburn, who's the president of EXIT Realty of the Carolinas. And remember, if you have any questions, all you have to do is type them in your comments, and we'll get those live on the air. Or you can call us at 843-246-7474. Michael, before the break, we talked about why an agent should choose EXIT to come and work with, and you know, it's the training that you have. That's awesome. But let's switch gears just a little bit. And in your opinion, why would a buyer or seller choose an EXIT agent to represent them?
I tell you what, I not all companies are created equal. Not all agents are created equal. And, you know, it really makes a difference when you have a well-trained agent that is experienced, that can actually handle a transaction. Because I've done hundreds and hundreds of transactions through my career. Not every one of them, they're never the same. I mean, there's always something a little bit different. And the more experience you've got, the more capable you are of handling those issues that pop up. And, you know, some of our competitors, we look out there, their agents. I was looking at one of our competitors, and 40% of their agents had not even done a transaction yet this year. 40% had not done one transaction, and a large majority had only done a handful, like one or two. So, you know, it's like if I was going to go get a root canal tomorrow, I would not go to a dentist or endodontist that had not done one yet this year, right? I'd go to somebody that did one every day, you know, a couple of weeks, whatever, 5 on Friday, but not somebody that hadn't done one yet, or only done like one so far this year. So I think you're going to have a much better transaction with somebody that's professional, that's full-time, that's dedicated, that's going to be, you know, constantly in there doing what needs to be done. And, you know, your office is run by Mary Ann Dorio, I mean, the broker down there, and she is top shelf. I mean, she is one of the best ones that I know of, period, in the industry. And that helps, you know, because sometimes an agent needs some backup, you know, some more experience. So she actually has that expertise and that experience. So I think it's a no-brainer to go with somebody that, you know, well-trained, solid agent like at EXIT Realty, you know, to have a better transaction.
And you're right. It's not just for the agent that you're working with as a buyer or seller, but what support line they have as well as an agent. And you're absolutely right. I was actually on the phone with Mary Ann last night with a little issue I've got that came up, and we walked through that, and hopefully we'll be able to take care of all that. But and everything comes out great for the buyer. But you're right. You know, that's why I chose EXIT, was because of the support that you get, not only from the broker, from EXIT as a corporation, but also all the agents that are there. We're really more like a family environment instead of a very cutthroat competitive environment. And I like that a lot. Let's talk about an interview that you did a while back with a guy named George Ross. And for those of you who don't remember who George Ross is, you may not know him by his last name. You just know him as Mr. George. But he was Donald Trump's right-hand man in The Apprentice, and he was one of the judges there. And I watched that interview, and I thought that was pretty cool. So from a real estate perspective, how did that impact you? And what are a couple of the biggest things that you took out of that interview?
You know, it's interesting. I've got a call with George Ross coming up here in the next week or two, and the guy is amazing. I mean, he is 92 years old now. So when you saw that interview, he would have been 91 probably.
Right.
And I just hope to God I can function like he does at that age. But he was Trump's real estate attorney for 47 years.
Yeah.
And so his big deal, what I took away from that was, you know, the brand Donald Trump. He's branded himself, and that's one of the things that we do for we help train our agents to brand themselves, because if you're branded, you don't fluctuate so much with the market. You want to the more branded you are as a company and the more branded you are as an agent, the more consistent your business is going to be. So that was one of my biggest takeaways, and George helped him do that, and that's what he continues to do with people, is help brand themselves. The other big thing is negotiation. I read his book, Billionaire Negotiation Strategies for Small Investors, and he still teaches negotiation to this day in his 90s. So yeah. I spent a day with him on negotiation. He taught negotiation one day. He showed up at 9:00 and left at 6:00. Took 1 hour for lunch, and at 91 years old. So negotiation is huge. That's an interesting book. He just talks about some
that I got out of the interview was how he said that Donald Trump, from the real estate perspective, we're not talking politics here, we're talking just real estate, but how great Donald Trump was at delegating and making sure that he didn't go out and because a lot of people know that Donald Trump is a real estate investor and he's a developer and everything else, but he doesn't go out and try to buy just one house at a time. He goes out and does very large projects and delegates all the people to handle that project so he can move on to the next thing. Of course, he keeps an eye on it, but he moves on to the next thing and keeps that rolling.
You're right. I mean, that is another key thing. And you notice that he's still doing that. And that's a big thing that agents need to learn how to do as well. Because, you get out there and get the deal, get it under contract, and then hand it off to somebody that can help close it. In other words, build a team, and that's huge in our business. You're absolutely right, Todd.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that section of the interview, but you're right.
Yeah. That's what stood out to me. And maybe I need to reach out to you and get George's number so we can get him on the show. That'd be awesome.
That would be cool.
I'd like to have him on. And I work with a number of investors here at the beach. So that would be a great show. So I love the EXIT sponsorship program. You touched on that just a moment ago with the residuals. I currently have 5 that I've sponsored on, and we had a meeting yesterday with Mary Ann with another one that I'm looking forward to having to bring on to EXIT. But can you tell us a little bit about that program and how it works and how it can benefit the agents and their families long term?
Absolutely, yeah. The biggest thing, I was on a webinar earlier this morning with a gentleman that works for another company that does profit sharing, and he was not very happy with that scenario, and he's lit up like a Christmas tree about our business model, because it's like they dangle a carrot, but it doesn't materialize in that situation. But ours is a very, very straightforward, simple system where the agents help build the company. And just like you're doing it, you're introducing an agent to Mary Ann. Mary Ann interviews the agent. If it's a click, if they're a fit, they come on board, and then you receive 10% off the top for as long as they're with the company. And in the Carolinas, that's a significant number, because our average transaction produces about a $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 commission. So if you're getting chunks of, $700, $800 checks, I mean, who wouldn't cash one of those? And then, like if you mentioned, if you've got 5 of them, possibly another one, 6, all of a sudden you get $600, $700, $800 checks in a month. That's literally life changing for a lot of people. I mean, that allows you to do some really neat things. I've heard some really neat stories, people sending their kids to college, with those funds. I've heard, one particular agent, she said it was $25,000 for her daughter's wedding, and she just wrote a check for it because she had accumulated that much residuals, and she didn't have to put them on her credit cards. I've heard of really neat stories, and then you actually, when you retire, you continue to get the residuals, and so that gives you for retirement, because who ever heard of a real estate agent going to a retirement party? That's pretty much, see you later, bye-bye. So, your last check is your retirement. So we have the retirement benefit as well as the beneficiary benefit that passes on to the children or the the spouse should something happen to one of our agents, which is no unheard of. No other company has that out there.
Right.
So it is definitely the best model out there.
It is kind of cool as an agent that when all of a sudden you get an email that says, "Hey, you have money in your in your sponsorship account," which is pretty cool. That you've been so busy yourself, you didn't even know that one of your sponsorees have sold a property. So that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, and it's just another great benefit of EXIT. So our CEO is Tammy Bunnell. And she speaks about the 30-foot view when you work on your so that you work on your business and not in your business. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you and what advice you would give to other agents that are really, really working on their business every day instead of in it?
Right. We're working on it instead of in the business instead of on the business.
Right.
And just like what we were talking about earlier, I think. The 30,000 foot view, what Tammy talks about, this is interesting. Right now we are just wide open. Like you mentioned, you had 11 closings in the month of August. And I know from a fact, when you got 11 closings, you're 24 hours a day practically getting those deals closed. And where my perspective is kind of the Wayne Gretzky thing. We know where the puck is right now. It's on the table, and you're trying to get it in the net. But where's the puck going to be in 6 months? And that's when you back up and you take a bigger perspective and you say, okay, what do I need to be focusing on down the road? It might be in technology. It might mean you need to get an assistant or somebody helping you with your transactions. And personally, I think where we need to be focusing on, and Marianne's on the same page. I've been through 4 recessions now, and I think with what we've got currently going on with the shutdown and all that, and 30% of the people not making their mortgage payments in the month of July, we need to dust off some of our knowledge from the past, because next year is going to be a different market. So what do we need to do to get ready for that? And a year ago, April, I released a book on Amazon. We got Amazon bestseller that when it was a new release. It's What Recession, How to Thrive in Any Market. Well, we weren't in a recession then, but possibly we will be in what you would call a recession coming in soon. And we technically are, because we have had 2 quarters of reduced GDP.
Right.
So that's where I see the puck being next year. So we'll circle back around that amongst our people, with our agents, with our system. So we're prepared for that situation.
Speaking on that, do you think that the government may help people out though, because of COVID and regardless of which side you're on, they don't want to see the economy crash, because that's not good for either party. And again, I don't want to get political, but I do think that there's going to do something to where the government can help out the lenders and say, let's give them a break for 6 months or whatever. Even if it's just taking 6 months of your payments and moving them to the end of the loan, and then the government pay that interest or something like that on the the loans during that 6 month time. But I just don't see that we're going to see the crash like we did in 08.
I hope not either, Todd. And I think, because nobody wants to repeat that. And, but there's going to be some kind of an adjustment. There's got to be, in the fact that such a large number of people have not been making payments. And I am hoping they'll redo some of the banking rules and regulations and things like that, because technically when a loan becomes over 90 days, then the banks currently now have to set off offsets and things like that. It becomes a non-performing loan. So yeah, I'm hoping there will be much more knowledge brought into this situation this time go around, to where they will, say, okay, we can just tack that on to the end. You start making payments, and we work things out. And I am very hopeful that is going to be the case. But that is yet to be seen, because we haven't gotten there yet. And but yeah, let's hope so.
Everyone needs to be prepared, because something's going to happen, like you said. So
it's going to change.
Yeah, this is another reason that I chose EXIT, and that is the Spirit of EXIT program. And it's called Spirit of EXIT Dollar for Dollar program. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and some maybe give some examples of how that's benefited the community?
Well, I know you guys in Myrtle Beach actually did a great thing back a couple months ago because of this COVID thing. With I think it was called Backpack Buddies or something like that. I know.
Yeah.
And raise that money, and I think you created it was like 3,033 meals. It was a lot of lunches there that y'all were able to furnish to the kids because they're no longer going to school. And that's a prime example of it. Right now, we're working in Charleston, South Carolina, helping with they're taking a house and converting it that's going to house it's going to house 16 veterans that are currently homeless, living on park benches, and give them a place to live for 90 days so that they can, get their act back together and have a place to live and get out there and get their resumes together and get a job and then find more long-term housing. And that's one that we're working on right now as we speak. And that's Corwin's office there in North Charleston is spearheading that one. And so, yeah, it's millions of dollars that is accumulated that the agents help raise it through their transactions. A portion of the fees that go to EXIT International, they pull out like I forgot what amount it is. It's like $7 or $10 per transaction, and that accumulates in a trust fund. And then the offices find a charity or an organization they want to get behind, and they help raise funds in their market, and then EXIT Corporate matches it. So, it's a dollar for dollar match. So it's really a neat program.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that with EXIT's match, we did a little over $10,600 that we gave to Backpack for Buddies. So that was pretty cool. And part of what EXIT does to give back is they are really big on Habitat for Humanity. And I believe that EXIT as a corporate has helped build over 20 homes for Habitat. And this does not include the agents that are out there doing stuff that are, like our office. But for example, we go and we help a Habitat house, and we just bring as many agents as we can, and we work on the house for a day, and then we move on. But that's a pretty cool program. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And is there anything that you know of that's in the works?
Yeah, we've done a lot of Habitat homes throughout the North America, and I know we built one from the ground up. I remember in Columbia, we built two over here down in the Hendersonville area over there, Transylvania County, about 2 years ago, and that in most markets, it was somewhere around $85,000 or something like that is what we needed to accumulate to be able to build a house. So that seemed like to be one of the numbers, and Habitat was we gave them millions of dollars through the years because we've been supporting them for like I want to say about 15 years, if not longer. And we thought Habitat, since we sell houses, what a good charity to tie into because to help people get houses, and then I'd say 2 years ago they've opened it up to be able to match other organizations like you guys did with Backpack Buddies to kind of spread it around a little bit, and so that's kind of the track record it's been with Habitat, but we're still very involved with supporting Habitat. It's a great organization, and so I know, and if I'm not mistaken, Jimmy Carter's kind of stepped down, and I think Garth Brooks is going to take over, if I'm not mistaken. So
I heard, yeah. So that's pretty cool. Maybe we can get the beach to help us build a house.
That's right. We can get Garth down there to Myrtle Beach and build one.
We would more than welcome him. So
that would be cool, wouldn't it?
It would. Well, Michael, thank you for joining us today and telling us a little bit more about EXIT Realty and how great of an organization it is, not only for the agents, but for the buyers and sellers, and as well as all the nonprofit organizations out there in the community. We appreciate you joining us. And if you'll hang on for just a moment, next week we have coming up with us, we'll have Amy Hayes, who is with Restoration One. They are a fire, water, and mold restoration company, and she'll be here with us next week to talk about all of her things that she's got going on with Restoration One. And Michael, once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk to you soon. Guys, see you next week right here on your favorite social media channel for Myrtle Beach Living Live.
Thanks a lot. Have a great